11 scientists have been wiped off the face of the earth. 11 scientists who some say were conducting sensitive research in connected fields and super spooky fields, and just existing at all made these people vulnerable to disappearing in weird ways, which is exactly what happened to them. All of these scientists are vanishing without a trace in what some people are calling a vast conspiracy. And the people who are calling it that are very, very dumb, because none of this is happening. The whole thing is just one of the biggest, dumbest non-stories from right-wing weirdos in the last probably 10 years. None of this is real. It's real that people have died and disappeared, that's true, but it's not true that any of them had anything to do with each other or that this is somehow some big conspiracy. As always, please don't take my word for it or anyone else's. Let's just go through the facts and uncover the details of what is turning into a legitimate modern-day satanic panic, or maybe just Pizzagate Part 2, and then see if we can lock down some actual realities about these disappearances. The other thing we have to talk about is just how small this NASA shirt is on me. Like, good lord. I feel like I'm showing up in that Chippendales audition with Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze. The story was first reported by the Daily Mail when 5 scientists were reported dead or missing, and 1 reporter was on a mission to find out why. And ever since that story broke, right-wing news media has been picking it up and connecting dots that don't actually connect at a record pace. And right-wing officials are announcing investigations into what they say is a scary, spooky non-coincidence, to say the least. Both the FBI and the House Oversight Committee have launched separate inquiries into the possibility that there's something going on with these scientists. First of all, this is all just a coincidence. It's absolutely, completely nothing. Maybe I should have saved that for the end. I don't know. The claim is that these scientists have all ties to space research, UFO knowledge, or at the least crazy edges of this, some secret knowledge of US nuclear science. But that's just simply not true. It's just totally bogus. The 11 scientists all worked in different fields, and most of them in different geographical locations completely across the country. 2 of them went hiking, and they went missing when they went hiking, and that's the only link that those 2 have. 2 others were murdered, so the murdering links those 2 up. One of the murdered scientists was an MIT professor who was killed in a school shooting, and the other was a Caltech researcher who specialized in studying water on other planets. The one murderer was a school shooter who made a video with grievances against that specific professor, and the other murder was perpetrated by a dude who was trespassing with a rifle a few days beforehand, and then on the day of the shooting, he carjacked his own relative's car. See, I don't know. I don't see this being sort of a real Man in Black secret assassin type sent from the shadows to silence someone forever. We caught him. The very first person to die in the supposed string of deliberate delinquency was Michael David Hicks in the year 2023. Hicks was a scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory who specialized in asteroid research. What do asteroids have anything to do with sensitive nuclear secrets, you may be asking? That's right, absolutely nothing. This is such irresponsible reporting. Like, look at this CNN headline. 7 out of 11 people in the story had nothing to do with nuclear or space research at all. Come on, people. Do better journalism or get out of the business. The absolute dumbest thing about this is that these 11 incidents took place over multiple years. It's not like this all happened suddenly, like all at once. 11 people, not all of them even scientists, by the way, and we'll get to that, but 11 people killed or missing over 3 years from unrelated fields does not a conspiracy make. There are 2 million researchers in the United States. As many as 600,000 people go missing in this country every single year. I think we're good here. Can we close this one? No, we can't. The government is really opening investigations. Even family members of the victims have pointed out that there are pre-existing conditions and medical reasons and other causes that are real contributors and very logical, obvious factors to all of these incidents. And local authorities have determined no foul play in the cases that weren't obvious murders. And yet House Oversight Chair Republican James Comer told Fox News that, quote, "It's very unlikely this is a coincidence." Ooh. He also said that, "We know there are many countries around the world that would love to have our knowledge and nuclear capabilities. Then why was the nuclear fusion guy murdered?" What? Why was the guy who did the nuclear fusion research murdered, Comer? Why wasn't he one of the ones that was disappeared? You can't get the nuclear science out of his head now, can you? God, you guys are so completely unserious that it's just hard to live in the world anymore. The daughter of one of the deceased scientists told CNN, "I can't help but laugh about it. At the same time," she said, "it's getting serious." Representative Tim Burchett, I don't know how you Tim, is that how you say that? Burchetta? Is he a tomato-based appetizer? Tim Burchett. God, he has crazy eye. Look at that. Look at his crazy eye. Whew. Burchett. Tim Burchett? Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee is the main voice behind all this noise. He's been a huge conspiracy theorist since forever, and at various times he's talked about the JFK assassination, UFOs, and COVID in really stupid ways. He's got a Instagram with some interesting things on it. Here's a thing about before every morning, before baseball, I have a simple prayer. Lord, let me see them aliens. Burchett has both claimed that he's requested documents on UFOs for years and years, and he's been stonewalled forever and just couldn't get access to military officials for interviews. And then at the very same time, he's also just recently told us that he's been briefed by, quote, just about every alphabet agency there is. And if we knew what he knew about UFOs, we wouldn't sleep at night. So which is it, fella? Do you have the information, or do you not have the information? Or do you just pretend either way for when the situation suits you? I mean, how does anyone actually believe anyone like this anymore? Lumped into this now are administrative assistants, custodial staff, and construction workers. It gets more tenuous all the time. One of them was a cancer researcher for Novartis, and people are like, ooh, Novartis has contracts with the Department of Defense. Bro, so does McDonald's. Like, what are we doing here? Mick West is a pseudoscience debunker who's chimed in on this whole thing, and he did the math so that we don't have to, which is great because I am afraid of math. It haunts my dreams. Just like the UFO briefings would if I'd had access to them, but I don't, so now it's just math. The number of people who work in the fields of aerospace and nuclear science and who have top secret clearance in those fields, that number is around 700,000. If you just go by the total normal number of casualties per that number of people during the time span of these 11 cases, so about 4 years, you're looking at 4,000 deaths, 70 murders, and 180 suicides. I don't know if you know this, and I'm struggling with it because of the math demons, but those numbers are much higher than 11. One of the most sensationalized deaths in this whole thing was that of Amy Eskridge, who was a fringe proponent of impossible mad science kind of things, who said that she was working on gravity modification research, and a lot of the crazies had a whole lot of fun with that. At one time, she told people that shadowy figures had shot her with a directed energy weapon. Very credible person. Eskridge unfortunately committed suicide in 2022, and she had never published a single paper in any research journal. And yet Fox News is very adamant that she's some high-level government scientist who knew things and was killed to suppress that knowledge. Sure, and I have stolen KFC's 11 herbs and spices for the zombie chickens from my last video. So if you want to get in on that, let me know, because I have those secrets. And that's really important for when those cluckers come for our brains. Among the most plausible concerning cases is that of General McCasland, who once worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and walked off into the wilderness one day without his glasses, but also carrying a .38 caliber revolver. I feel like we can probably also close that one. That seems like its own kind of through line. I think it's good. I think we're good there. And McCasland's wife also said in her 911 call that it seemed like he didn't want to be found. She also pointed out in a subsequent statement to the media that he'd been retired for 13 years. So anyone going through the trouble of kidnapping him for secret government information is gonna be a little disappointed. Gonna get some things that are a bit stale. You probably have your own things by now that are much better. Something that's super interesting on its own is that McCasland had once advised Tom DeLonge on a book project that the rock star turned UFO researcher was working on. And so that's where most of the people get the whole alien technology connection, along with the Wright-Patterson bit, because a lot of people think that that's where they stored the bodies and the technology from the Roswell crash. But McCasland reportedly told DeLonge that he was actually himself a skeptic. So if you supposedly have access to the alien bodies in the deep freezer in the Wright-Patterson garage, and you're saying that you yourself are a skeptic about this, doesn't that logically imply that you haven't seen anything to change your mind? His wife is actually having a bit of fun with this whole thing, even through her grief. Quote, "At this point, with absolutely no sign of him," she wrote, "maybe the best hypothesis is that the aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported." Even despite the completely unrelated details of all these cases and the fact that there's absolutely no evidence of any kind that there's any connection, and that the actual math behind the probabilities that people just die and disappear all the time, even despite all that, Trump himself recently told reporters, "I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half." That sounds familiar. After that, we're going to get to Infrastructure Week. We can be very sure that this means that we're never going to know. And right-wing media is just going to keep making this into a biggest story as they possibly can. Trump showed up to a Turning Point USA event on Friday, and he went even further. He told the crowd that he, quote, directed the Secretary of War to begin releasing government files relating to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena. He went on to say that, "I thought I'd save it for this crowd, because you're a little out there." The truth is, of course, that all of Trump's crowd is a little out there. The guy launched his entire political career on the racist conspiracy theory that President Barack Obama was somehow not an American citizen or born in America. Of course, Pizzagate followed that, and then QAnon, and somehow JFK Jr. was alive and going to be Trump's running mate. The entire MAGA culture is a conspiracy theory souffle. It's no surprise that we're not going to hear the end of this anytime soon, and that we're also going to be wasting a ton of tax dollars on complete nonsense. But sure, party of small government, or whatever. What do I think about the missing scientists? I think that we've all just collectively watched The Three Body Problem on Netflix, and we have this cultural idea floating around right now that scientists could be murdered or disappeared en masse because of the science that they do and possess and have and know. And human beings are evolutionarily designed for pattern recognition, even when those patterns aren't real. Because scientists are not being murdered or disappearing en masse. They're being murdered and disappearing exactly as much as they should be, based on the background data for those kinds of things. Hey, you Doge kids and other propagandists who claim to be at all interested in finding out where the fraud, waste, and abuse is, this is it, right here. Take the money we're now spending on a completely insane investigation of nowhere and maybe use it to do some fucking good instead. You guys, I think I just saw the guy behind all this, out back. The truth is out there. And don't forget, that truth is liking and subscribing to the channel so that you can find, straight on your feed, every single time I upload a new video. One thing we have to talk about today is how small this NASA shirt is on me. Holy cow. I haven't worn it in a while, I guess, and I just didn't know. Jeez, I feel weird about it. Sorry. Do you feel weird about it? Let me know. Oh, bring it on, aliens. Oh.